Despite their differences in the South China Sea, the Philippines will roll out the welcome mat for Xi Jinping as he attends the APEC summit next week. Aung San Suu Kyi's NLD looks to have taken it all, and why she thinks it'll stay that way in Myanmar, plus China's pollution. These stories are coming up next. This is the Asia Brief. Greetings and salutations, my excellent friends. Steve Miller here on this Wednesday, the 11th of November, 2015. Before we continue, a quick pause to remember all of those who have served their countries bravely over the years and who continue to do so. You've chosen to do what so many have not, and despite the hotspots that we have here and there around the world, it is a better place because of you. It has been announced that Chinese President Xi Jinping will attend the Asia-Pacific Summit in the Philippines next week, putting to rest that he wouldn't do so over issues in the South China Sea. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi will visit Manila on Tuesday in preparation for Xi's visit at the annual Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation meeting, or APEC meeting, that's due to take place in Manila November 17th to 19th. The visits by both Yi and Xi offer a rare opportunity for top-level discussions with Beijing, especially as many portray China's activity in the region on par with being a big bully. The Philippines takes particular issue with what they call China's hypocritical tactics, including building artificial islands and taking control of rich fishing shoals in the Philippine waters. China is angry that Manila took the matter up with The Hague and will be forced into discussions at the International Court of Arbitration. And while that is perhaps the most contentious issue most ASEAN members have with China, there's little chance that the South China Sea will be on the docket. Everyone knows that APEC is primarily about discussing trade and financial cooperation in the Asia-Pacific. As far as I know, at this year's summit, there's no plans to discuss the South China Sea, said Chinese Vice Foreign Minister Li Baodong at a press conference. Philippine Foreign Secretary Albert de Rosio on Tuesday met with Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi, the first high-level talks since 2011. They expressed hope the contentious issues will not be raised at APEC, and we said we will endeavor on our side not to raise contentious maritime issues, according to Charles Jose, Manila's foreign ministry spokesman. Which actually is a shame, since yes, APEC is normally a forum for these types of economic discussions, but ignoring opportunities to discuss them does little to bring about any form of resolution, especially when we look at the failure of the ASEAN Defense Summit last week. We've seen how Beijing prefers to handle things bilaterally where they have the upper hand. Only a united stance with claimants pulling their resources together can counter such power. Diplomacy is the key. But so far, ASEAN members and their tactics of avoidance haven't done anything to resolve the matter. It's time to change and press the matter at every opportunity. Well, it's pretty much all said and done at this point in Myanmar. Aung San Suu Kyi's National League for Democracy has won the country's first free and fair election in 25 years by more than a landslide. It's been a shellacking. Official results released by the Union Election Commission show the opposition NLD so far has won 107 seats in the lower house of parliament, while the military-backed ruling USDP has won just 11. But keep in mind that no matter what the results say, 25% of the government's seats are reserved for the military, prompting Ireland's former President Mary Robinson in an interview with the Voice of America to say the elections were anything but free and fair due to that and disenfranchisement of minorities. And she's right, as Rohingyas aren't classified as citizens, and many Muslims in the country don't have the necessary paperwork to be able to vote. The European Union's election observation team said that since losing USDP candidates are accepting defeat, that is an encouraging sign and gives the vote some credibility. But a victory like this brings to mind the 1990 election, where Suu Kyi's party won by a landslide and then the junta stepped in and nullified the results. In an interview with the BBC's Fergal Keane, she explains why she doesn't think that will happen this time.
The times are different, the people are different. I find that the people are far more politicized now than they were back, not just in 1990, but much more politicized than they were in 2012 when we campaigned for the by-election. They are very much more alert to what is going on around them. And then of course there's the communications revolution, which has made a huge difference. Everybody gets onto the net and informs everybody else of what is happening. And so it's much more difficult for those who wish to engage in irregularities to get away with it.
We'll unpack the election more on this Friday's episode of Asia News Weekly when I speak with Rand Corporation's Jonah Blank. This past weekend, just about everyone in China was up in arms about the pollution in the northeast city of Shenyang, China. Chinese state media and netizens alike criticized the situation, with activists calling the air quality the worst in the nation, mainly due to the heavy industry in the region. Everyone seemed to be blaming the local government, but no one really was stepping up to accept responsibility, or even willing to move things in a positive direction. This past Sunday, readings were 50 times higher than the levels deemed safe by the World Health Organization. PM 2.5 readings, those particles that are small enough to get into our lungs, exceeded 1,400 milligrams per cubic meter. The WHO recommends levels no greater than 25 milligrams per cubic meter. Now let me say that again. 25. 5. Shenyang was 1,400. Greenpeace told the AFP that they believe that's the highest rating ever recorded in China. A Global Times editorial blamed local officials for inexperience in tackling pollution and inconsistent channels of communication. It also blamed unreasonable modes of energy consumption and the industrial structure in the area. The piece also asked for understanding, saying that in general, local governments are still on a learning curve. Come on. That is being entirely too generous. When the sky is so thick you can't see through it and levels are as high as they are, you know there's a problem. There is absolutely no excuse for letting things get this bad. Now, on this Saturday's Asia Now podcast, I'll be speaking with Sanjay Sarup about the haze in Indonesia, and part of our conversation included how haze like this affects more than just air quality. It affects local climates, which is a larger picture, I dare say, few are looking at. Well, my friends, those are today's stories, but please, take a moment and let me know your thoughts and opinions. I'd love to hear from you. The Asia Brief is a special feature of the Asia News Weekly podcast. If you enjoyed the podcast, please share it with your friends, and if you haven't, subscribe. Subscribing is free, and when you do, the next episode is delivered automatically to you. You can subscribe on our website, asianewsweekly.net, or in your favorite podcast application. You can also keep up with more news from the region by following Asia News Weekly on Facebook or Twitter. And if you have any comments, questions, or feedback, be sure to drop us a line. That email address is podcast@asianewsweekly.net. Thank you so much for joining me, and until next time, remember to be true to yourself and to always be awesome.